Yeah, I can. Whenever you're ready.
All right, it is 6:30. We will call the June 4th, 2025 meeting of the Decatur County Area Plan Commission to order. First thing on the order of business, Mr. Hunter has a few announcements about the building here.
First of all, if we have any emergency situation and we need to exit the building, please exit back through the doors that you came in through the lobby or to the right over here through the exit, which will take you directly outside the building. Also, if we were to have weather where we needed to shelter, we will shelter in the 2 restrooms outside in the main lobby. No expectation of that tonight, but please adhere to that if we do have any severe weather situations.
All right, thank you. First thing on the agenda, minutes from our May 7th, 2025 meeting, which you've all been sent. Any additions, corrections? If not, I will look for a motion.
I make a motion, minutes as read.
Second.
Have a first and a second for the minutes to be approved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. All right, to comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Decatur County requests that participants in this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table in the back of the room. With that being said, we will start with APC Petition 2025-14. Jeffrey A. Moore is requesting to rezone 2 lots in Westport from a B1 zoning classification to an R2 zoning classification to build single-family detached dwellings. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Section number 1020. The property is owned by Jeffrey A. Moore and is located at 215 East Mulberry Street and 109 North Poplar Street, Westport, in Sand Creek Township. Mr. Moore? There's a microphone right there. Just kind of tell us what you want to do. And
basically the white building that's right in the center there, that's actually going to come down. And then there's a duplex that'll be built in the center of that, and also a duplex that'll be, so this building right here is what's going to come down. There'll be a little duplex that's built right here, and there'll be a duplex that's built right here on this corner. And that's the plan at this moment.
And I believe there was a letter from the Westport Town Board that they had approved the change there and at their town meeting. So, questions or comments from board members?
Be parking on the parcel for these, I assume?
Yes, sir. Be parking right here on the front for this one. Be parking right here on the front for that one.
Any other questions or comments from board members? If not, I will open up the floor to adjoining property owners with questions or comments. Not hearing any and no other questions from the board, I will look for a motion.
I move that we vote on APC 2025-14.
I'll second 2025-14.
We have a first and a second to vote on 2025-14.
Votes are as follows. Scott Smith, yes. Tom Cherry, yes. Sheila Kirkhoff, yes. Tom Hunter, yes. Todd Mauer, yes. Paul Stone, yes.
Congratulations, Mr. Moore. Your petition carries. Stay in contact with the office as you go through the building process. So.
He's not a voting member anyway. Okay.
We will move on to APC Petition 2025-15. Tyler Brown and Crystal Brown is requesting to rezone approximately 2.99 acres out of 16.1505 acres from an A1 zoning classification to an A2 zoning classification to build a single-family detached dwelling. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Section number 915 and 920-7. The property is owned by the petitioner and is located just east of 9610 West County Road 100 South, Greensburg, Indiana, Clay Township. Mr. Brown?
Thank you. Yeah, we just want to build a single-family residential home about right in this region right here. Sorry, about right, somewhere right in there.
I believe I've seen the driveway approval and septic approval here in the packet, so those two hurdles have been jumped. Questions or comments from APC board members? Not hearing any, I will open it up to adjoining landowners for questions or comments. I will look for a motion.
I make a motion to accept APC Petition 2025-15.
I second.
I have a first and a second for APC Petition 2025-15. We will take the votes, and Mr. Westerfeld will call them out.
Votes are as follows. Scott Smith, yes. Tom Cherry, yes. Tom Hunter, yes. Sheila Kirkhoff, yes. Todd Mauer, yes. Paul Stone, yes.
Just as I said before, congratulations, your petition does pass. Stay in contact on the building process with the office here, and congratulations. Moving forward, APC Petition 2025-16. Tina Watt is requesting to rezone approximately 2.50 acres from an A1 zoning classification to an A2 zoning classification to build a single-family detached dwelling. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Section number 915 and 920-7. The property is owned by the petitioner and is located just west of 7359 West County Road 650 North, St. Paul in Adams Township. Ms. Watt?
I am requesting to take a minimum of 2 to 2.5 acres in that red area there in the back, at the bottom part there is where the home will go. It will be a modular on a permanent foundation. And I've already submitted the approvals there from the septic and the driveway as well.
Is that on the backside of, is it Hidden Paradise? Is that where that's-
Hidden Paradise is on the bottom blue line there.
Yes,
It's
okay.
across the river there from us.
Yep.
My property actually goes up on the bank on Hidden Paradise side, but I've got close to 30 acres there.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the red X and then the circled area? What's the,
I don't know what that red X is.
Just disregard that.
The property,
Just
the
disregard the
modular will be down on the bottom there, where it widens out is where the modular will be. And the driveway will be the minimum of 50 feet on the roadway there and diagonaling down the property line.
the blue line through the middle, is that two separate parcels there then?
Yeah, so if I could jump in. So if you look at the top where it says 446 feet,
Yeah.
so Beacon is off, basically. So where the red line on the left-hand side is the west edge of her property, the Beacon line is on the red line on the east, on that east, where it looks like there's a red and a blue line together. So it's incorrect. So there was a survey that was filed for the property to the east, and the call out from her property line, which is the blue one on the east, is 446 feet, and when you measure that out, it goes all the way to the red line on the far west. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So that
You're saying
blue
this is
line
really-
that
this
runs
is
right
really
down the
property
middle
line?
is off. That blue line should be to the left.
I see, okay. The circled red area should be part of the parcel that's showing up
Correct.
to the east.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then obviously when she has that surveyed, that'll all be straightened out. But again, it's just Beacon is incorrect on that line.
Septic and driveway paperwork is in here, so. Any other questions or comments from APC board members? Not hearing any, I will look for questions or comments from adjoining property owners. I will look for a motion.
I'll make a motion. Vote on 2025-16.
I make a second.
Have a first and a second for APC Petition 2025-16.
The votes are as follows: Tom Cherry, yes; Scott Smith, yes; Paul Stone, yes; Todd Mauer, yes; Tom Hunter, yes; and Sheila Kirkhoff, yes.
Once again, congratulations. Stay in contact with the office through the building process, and good luck. Brings us to APC Petition 2025-17. Brittany Warren is requesting to rezone approximately 2.99 acres out of 17.2 acres from an A1 zoning classification to an A2 zoning classification to build a single-family detached dwelling. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Section Number 915 and 920-7. The property is owned by Mighty Timber LLC and is located just south of 3575 North County Road 420 West, Greensburg in Adams Township. Ms. Warren?
Hello. So we are just wanting to build a single-family residential home in this area here. Yes, did you see that? Yeah.
How's the driveway maintenance arrangement with those other, I guess there are, what, 1, 2, 3 other parcels, or 2 other parcels, it looks like?
Yes, we haven't really discussed yet, but being in the field that I am, I plan on helping maintain it and then talk with the surrounding neighbors, residents to see,
Okay.
and then we can figure something out if everything is successful.
Okay.
No, there's an easement here. And then this portion is part of the property
Okay.
that we will be buying.
Sure.
Questions or comments from other board members?
Just,
Questions or comments from adjoining property owners?
Evening, Brian Leisure. I am representing the current homeowner, Pam and Rick Bundren. So we've got some questions concerning this. They are landlocked. They live there in the home that is the 1606-19420 property. They've been there for 34 years. Current property owners have not assisted at all in helping maintain the driveway. And while we entertain the idea of them helping us maintain the driveway, that driveway that you see going up to the field on the north side of that property, when this driveway here was put in, they have hit a natural spring in this area. Sorry for my hand being so shaky. Right here in this area, there's a natural spring that's been hit. It's been wet since they put that driveway in. There's a concern there. There's also concern for the amount of water that would be taken from this home to support their home. They've had issues in the past, while there have been very few, they've had issues where they've had to go through and clean out their well due to the fact of dry spells and losing prime of their pumps at their home. So there's some major concerns that would like to talk with them and discuss, but at this time, we are against them building this home on that property.
They have not come to us. And there's still grass where they put that gravel in. My husband,
Talking to the microphone, state your name, please.
since they put that driveway in,
Will you state your name, please?
my name is Pam Bundren, Pamela Sue Bundren. I am the property owner. And back there where they put that driveway in, from day one when we bought the property, my husband has mowed that grass where they put that driveway in. And he took care of the driveway. He put the gravel on the driveway, which when we went to Fort Abstract and, signed off on buying our home there, they were to help take care of the driveway. They never did. My husband bought gravel from St. Paul Gravel Company, and Bruce Vanderberg, which is my husband's cousin, supplied gravel to us, he bought, and my son-in-law bought gravel, would help buy gravel for that driveway.
You're talking about from your parcel to the east towards the road, is that
Yes,
correct?
to enter to our house.
From there to there.
You know, the frontage property. We are all supposed to have put gravel down and take care of that. They have not. They were supposed to mow that back there, where they put that new driveway in. They have not. And that driveway, it's still got grass up like this. There's nobody been back there to mow.
Well, they don't have to mow their property.
I mean,
If it's north of your property line, I mean, I understand,
Yeah, but it depreciates ours.
well,
And we got grandbabies there that, you know, play, there's snakes, you know,
unfortunately.
and
if
that's
they
a
wanna-
concern.
If they want to let it grow up in weeds for the next 100 years, unfortunately, that's their right. I mean, I understand your concern, but
when was this driveway put in, or how long has it been there, or what?
They just put it in this past,
Last fall, I would say,
last summer.
or was it last summer?
Yeah.
so they haven't been really using the property.
No, but if you go in, if you see where those two.
They've been people back there.
Where 06,
You know.
0619 000, at that corner right there where that driveway, it's just about that location where it has become wet. I drove my truck back up there on Easter weekend, just to drive back there to park, because we had Easter there, and I dropped down that far
On their property.
on that driveway, yes.
I mean,
It's
That's theirs.
wet.
If I
Yeah.
could add,
Yeah.
hold on, you all will have an opportunity to rebut, so. So your concerns are from as far as from your drive to the east about in the future sharing maintenance, is that correct?
That is one concern, yes.
I mean, quite frankly, what happens on their property, whether the driveway is soft, the weeds are tall, things like that,
Oh, yeah,
That
we
is
know.
their problem.
that's
Yeah,
that's
yes,
not
yes.
your
Yes.
not yours, you know.
Yes. The other question I have is I know that is like an 18-acre parcel. Are they buying the entire 18 acres? Are they only buying the 3 acres? Is the other, all of it?
I don't think they would parcel off without any road frontage.
Yeah, I think what they've circled there is the area they would like to rezone of that parcel. Is that correct, Doug?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
Any other questions or
No,
concerns?
not at this time.
Way to go. Thank you.
M-
You're
Nancy,
welcome. Thank you very
Can I
much.
ask a question?
Sure.
We've been there
From
for
an
35
attorney
years.
standpoint, how do shared drives work? Would you recommend that we advise?
I was not told either until just now.
Ma'am,
Hold on.
Hang on, quiet.
Whoa.
So from what I can see, and Andy's here, and I see that he did the survey, there is a recorded easement. It looks like it's a 15-foot easement that provides access to the homeowner there that was expressing concerns. So that does not, it is not a landlocked parcel.
Okay.
It has an ingress and egress easement. I do not know if there was any type of recorded maintenance agreement. If not, you know, that's something that could be entertained, but
Paul, if I can say, I mean, when we did the survey, you know, I found the easement, and it was from multiple owners ago. If I remember, that easement might have been done maybe in the 90s.
Okay.
And honestly, very few easements I come across have maintenance agreements with the neighbor. It's always a good thing
Yep.
to have, but
it's a rarity.
it's, for an older easement like that, you just don't see maintenance agreements.
Yeah. And that makes sense, and I think that unfortunately that would resolve a lot of these kind of things. Does it make sense for us to ask them to get some kind of a written agreement? Maybe that's too far reaching, I don't know. I just don't want it to become a problem that's larger than what it is right now. Right now, I don't think they're even traveling on that drive hardly at all, but once they begin traveling.
Build a house and drive in and out of it 3 times a day.
So will the access easement serve 2 parcels, the new one and the existing, or is there also, it says barn on the survey. Is there a house up there, Andy?
Technically, it looks like the driveway don't even go on 420's property, does it?
Say that again,
The driveway doesn't
Todd.
really go onto 420's property. It's just on the
Right.
011's. So the easement would be with 011 and not, is that correct, Andy?
Yeah, I believe the easement is only on parcel 1100. That was just a barn there.
Yeah.
And it's owned by a Mr. Ketchum, if I'm correct. And then, the Bundrums. Yeah, the Bundrums. So this is just a barn.
Yeah.
And there's just a 15-foot easement there. So this belongs to a Ketchum, and this belongs to, the Bundrums that were just speaking. And if I remember correct, both this parcel and this parcel both have the right to use that easement.
Well, my concern is problems will become bigger than what it is right now, should there be concrete trucks and things in and out of there. So I feel like trying to get on top of it, and maybe that's too far of reach for the APC board, I don't know, but.
I mean, the parcel in question has access. That's really our main concern.
Okay.
So they have an ingress and egress easement that gives them access to the,
Right, yeah, the legal access will be that, they'll use that easement, but this parcel here wraps all the way around. And then they've also got this road frontage here, which obviously you can't use because of the river, but based on the way the codes are written, it's still road frontage.
Sure.
right, so they have everything they need.
So I think that was even more than 250 feet
Yep.
along the river there.
Any other adjoining property owners or anybody else that wants to comment?
I,
Do what?
Come on up.
I would like to make a comment too. So I apologize that you've had this experience in the past. We currently have not had access to the land just yet. We are contingent with it rezoning. We want to make sure it rezones before we.
Address your
build.
comments this way, please,
Oh,
so we can hear the mic. You're fine. I can't hear it when you're not talking into the mic.
Sure. So we currently don't own this property. We are contingent with it rezoning to make sure it rezones before we build, before we buy it. So I apologize for the experience she's had in the past. It is our intentions to maintain this. We are sensitive to her concerns and want to make sure we build that relationship and definitely will maintain this once it's in our ownership.
But however, the driveway is not going to maintain all the heavy trucks it's going to take to get your trailer out. And that's the only way we can get to our house.
Ma'am, if you want to speak, I need you to come to the microphone, please, because I can't hear her.
There's only one driveway to get to our house. It cannot maintain the heavy load of trucks taking supplies back to build a house or to do whatever have you back there. You come into the driveway where the mailbox is. There's a dip that goes down. That's been flooded many a times. There's been so much water over that dip. And our frontage property where the creek is, that's been flooded, okay? All the way up over the driveway. That's what we're talking about, okay? It erodes the driveway. And it's just not going to maintain the heavy trucks. Now, if there is a different entrance to where you need to get to, then that's fine. But it's not going to maintain The driveway's not going to maintain that, I'm telling you. It's not going to maintain.
Did
And
they
we
use the
have to
drive
get
when they
to
built
our
your
own.
house?
Pardon?
Was the driveway used when they built your house?
Yes. Yes, by us, yes, by us.
On
There
an
was no
easement.
heavy.
So the driveway is actually owned?
The house was built in 1987. We bought the house in 1993, and we have been there ever since.
But that
Dion and
driveway
Kim
was-
Pike
that
are the
drive-
the ones that built a home, and that's who we bought it from.
That
It's in-
can I speak for a second? That
Yes.
driveway sustained building the home that you live in, is that correct? I mean,
Yes.
It appears that it was the only drive. So
Exactly.
Concrete trucks at some point in time.
But that was 35 years ago, sir. It's been flooded. It's not very well drained, as my son-in-law said. You know, it's not well drained. It's
I
not.
understand. Thank you for your,
Sir?
So I'm a property owner, David Correa, Paul David Correa, manager at Matty Timber. Driveway was put in 2 years ago, brand new stone. We've used that driveway for years with farm equipment, no problem, doesn't flood. They built their own house using that driveway. We've shared in putting down crushed stone over the years. It's never been an issue. Ultimately, I think they just don't want a neighbor or something. But this meets all the requirements and a great opportunity for these two. I can tell you firsthand, I just wanted to comment that road's in great condition. Yeah, there's some weeds that have grown up here and there, but they're going to take a great care of it. And I just wanted to attest that that road is in good condition and well maintained and drains well.
thank you.
He is not the actual landowner, so could he prove that in an LLC?
They don't have to be a landowner to speak, so.
I know, but he's trying to say he's dealing with these people as the landowner, and he is not.
Okay.
I would just like to clarify that.
I guess my comment would be the actual people that's gonna be
Just real
upset
quick,
are the
as far as the
people that own-
landowner is concerned, the landowner has to also sign the application, and Mr. Correa is a representative of Matty Timber LLC.
Okay.
Just for the record.
Paul, we need names.
Yeah, we need names. If you're going to speak, we've got to have a name, so.
Vanessa Correa.
Thank you.
Stewart Correa.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add one thing before I end. Mr. Correa talked about the fact that that easement at the corner there does not flood. I know for a fact that it does. I have driven through 2 to 2.5 foot of water over that easement area right there where the adjoining properties all meet. It is a low area. There is 2 12-inch pieces of convoluted steel piping that run through there. And I can guarantee you, I've seen the water be at least that deep running across.
So I guess my comment to that would be, that is the property owner on 1100 here, and you have an easement with them, that is not on their property, right?
Correct, yeah.
So I guess you're...
I'm sorry, sir. Could you repeat that?
So the driveway that you're saying flooding is out here, and your easement goes through 1100 here.
It's right there at the corner of 1100 and 420. So it's right where you see the new rock veer to the north.
But sir, my point is, that is not on your property.
I understand that, but Mr. Correa just stated that it does not, and I'm just a point of clarification.
Hey, I believe you it floods. You have an easement with the people here.
It does flood. I have pictures.
I believe you, yeah. But thank you for, honestly, thank you for coming up. That's what this is about. Thank you for the comments. We will certainly consider everything, should anyone else want to speak as well. Thank you.
Anything else out of us?
I think our concern is trying to have something harmonious amongst neighbors, so strongly encourage you all will be taxing that drive as you build your home. Should this pass, please do your part to maintain it should this go through.
Working in a construction company for the past 10 years, I have no problem getting equipment and stone delivered in spread out evenly, graded. I mean, I could even put in a bigger drain. I can get extra pipe at work and put in, go from 12 to 15, depending if it helps anything, depending on the grading. But that's all future.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Any other questions or comments from APC board members? I will look for a motion.
I make a motion, APC 2025-17, I'm sorry.
Second.
Have a first and second to vote on 2025-17.
The votes are as follows: Tom Cherry, yes; Scott Smith, yes; Tom Hunter, yes; Todd Maurer, yes; Sheila Kirkhoff, yes; Paul Stone, yes.
Your petition does pass. Congratulations. My advice would be to get with whoever owns 1100 and get some kind of agreement wrote up, because that is where your driveway will be going through. So I would strongly recommend that. But other than that, stay in contact with the Doug as you go through the building process. Moving on to APC Petition 2025-18. GD Partnership LLC is requesting to rezone approximately 0.45 acres from a R2 zoning classification to a B3 zoning classification to build a gas station. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Section Number 1145. The property is owned by GD Partnership LLC and is located at 8357 East State Road 46, Greensburg, in Salt Creek Township.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity. Chris Stephen, representing GD Partnership LLC as their legal representative. The members of GD Partnership LLC are here. If you have any individualized questions, I'm happy to have them come up and answer. Essentially, this is a rezone request for a building that has been a commercial structure for a while. It is located in New Point on 46. It was most recently a car wash and an oil change location, but it does appear that it has always been in an R2 zone, so there was never a prior zoning variance request. The members of GD Partnership are business owners here in Greensburg. They already own one gas station here in Greensburg as well as another business, so this would be their second gas station. They're not really, they'll do a little bit of renovation to the building itself, and they'll have to put in some tanks and that sort of thing, but generally speaking, they're just asking for the variance. They think they'll still be able to make all setbacks and all other necessary components. We did bring this issue in front of the town members for New Point, and the New Point town did vote. I believe the minutes showing that positive approval should be in your packets. At the same time, they also met with, the members met with Town Marshal Andy Hadler to discuss potentially how to address some of the basic shrubs and things that have grown up, to make sure that they have a good line of sight there on 46 to turn out onto there. But I do think it was a positive recommendation. I believe this will increase the value of the other property owners around there, which are also commercial, that should hopefully drive traffic. And I think it's a good project, and we would ask for your approval of that variance.
Questions or comments from APC board members?
hearing straight, was that where Walton and Trinningham had their
It's
kind of
next to it.
Next
Next
to
to
it,
it,
Walpies is to the west, and that's the old car
I
wash.
think that one's Walpies. I think.
Actually, it's.
Or is this one,
No,
this one there?
that one, yeah, the other
Yeah.
one's New Point Town Center.
Yeah.
Or the fire department.
Yeah, the fire department's here. I don't do New Point as well as I do the city of Greensboro, sorry. That's Walpies, and then this is where the, like I said, it was formerly a car wash. And I think prior to that, actually, it was a gas station at one point. So
So are they gonna utilize the existing buildings? Or-
they're going to renovate the existing building and try and save at least the majority of the structure. I think there's probably going to be some issues that they may have to fill in, like the oil pit and things like that. But their intention is to renovate the inside to make it into a convenience store. And then they're also going to have new tanks put in to have a gas station there. But I don't think there will be any substantial modification to the actual building itself.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I will open it up to adjoining property owners.
Name's Gary Dean. You got a pointer there?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. We're the owners of this property right here. And our main concerns are, excuse me, is trash, the noise, extra noise, trucks coming in, delivering stuff taken off, cars. Where the lighting, you know, there's not going to be, the privacy is going to be cut down to zero. And where they plan on putting the dumpster, you know, smelling trash. It's, and the property value, from what I've read on, a gas station that can join to your property like that can cut the property value down quite a bit.
And there's currently no fencing or any type of boundary, right?
No, there's no fencing or anything anywhere along.
What is zoning for B2?
I mean, my question would be, are they planning on putting up some kind of barrier there to kind of cut down on the noise? Or are they, where they're planning on doing the dumpster? Or, I mean, I'm all for new business. I mean, that's great, but, you know, we got those concerns.
What about the traffic that's going to come out of the gas station and drive down in between
Yeah, in
our
between,
backyard and,
I don't know whether they have access of, to go behind Wappies there or not, but an easement would what I would say, but.
Those are valid questions and concerns. I mean, I appreciate you following this, and I think ultimately what I'd like to see happen is to allow them to respond to some of your questions. So we're not ignoring you. I think you have very valid things to ask, so we'll allow them, if feel free to share any more, and then we'll see what they have to say about it. So.
Okay.
So are you still making these additions? Does that, is there enough stuff up there?
Chris, can you elaborate? I see the 3 pumps would be on the front side of the building. I assume the tanks would be out front as well? You're fine.
Could you please repeat your question?
I see the 3 pumps would be out on the front side of the building between 46 and the building.
Yes.
I was just curious, would the tanks be out front as well?
I think that's the anticipation, yeah, that there'll be underground tanks in that front area. Additionally, in speaking to the members of the partnership, they appreciate the homeowners coming forward and bringing that to their attention. They do not have an issue putting up a fence in the back there, that if that's something that'll help appease the neighbors, they're happy to do that. There is not currently an existing fence, and to my knowledge, there was not a fence at any of the times that it was a car wash or a oil change location or when it was a prior gas station. But that being said, they are more than happy to accommodate that request. And if I believe you all have this picture, and I'm sorry, I'm just showing.
No.
Normally, you'd be a lot closer to where I'm at, but. So
Yeah,
they
right there.
anticipate that the dumpster will be in,
I don't know if we have
I was gonna say, I think they,
We have that picture.
apologies. I think their anticipation is putting the dumpster somewhere in this general area, I mean, well away from that back residential property line. And this is all established tree growth here, so it should not interfere with those neighbors. But that's their current intention, is to put that there. But they certainly have no problem taking the comments made by those folks into a consideration as they move forward with their renovation.
Chris, are they still proposing to put the additions on that are reflected in this diagram?
Yes, I believe they are.
Has the board seen those proposed additions?
Is there a plan for egress to the south side of the existing structure or the proposed addition to that? So do you plan, or is there anticipated customer traffic to head west behind the existing structure or not?
I don't believe there's, so. Can you answer you got to say who?
My name is Simar.
The question
I'm
is
member
there
of DD
traffic that's going
Partnership.
to go behind your building and come on over to the neighbor's property?
I don't have any, nobody gonna drive through that
Okay.
area.
So it's not that they're gonna enter
No.
and then
no,
drive
no,
around, so.
No, that's what not we are anticipating.
Okay.
Like a drive-through window, or no.
Yeah, not exiting the property to the west on the south end.
No, but I think we do have an easement behind the WAPI.
Okay.
I think Shuli can explain that.
Your anticipation, though, is that customer traffic would stay to the north
Yes.
of the structure?
Yes.
Okay.
So if the fuel tanks are in the front, would the delivery trucks for the fuel, would they just come in, park out in front of the pumps to deliver it? And the semis or whatever that are delivering fuel, they would not be squeezing back between the buildings and going out to the west behind
No,
Wappies? The fuel tanks wouldn't, or the
They
semis?
should not interfere.
Okay.
Are you going to have barriers so people don't do that?
Barriers
So that they don't circle around? Because if it's open, people will just do that.
We can put in a barrier if required.
What was your comment, Missy? I'm sorry.
I asked if there were going to be barriers, because if there is an open access around the building and out past the rear of Walpi,
Yeah.
that unless you're out there policing it, people will do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Trucks will do it if it's easier than backing up or doing a 20-point turnaround. So if the intent is for it to not flow that way,
Yeah.
there's probably going to have to be some type of a barrier preventing them from doing that.
And I think it's reasonable to allow a delivery or something in there. I mean, I don't want to tell them they can't use the existing easement, but I don't think normal customer flow should go behind there is my thinking. But
Just for an example, I own a gas station here in the town. Nobody goes in the back. They all do their business from the front and leave from the front. Nobody drives like around in my parking lot in the back. So, that's in like journal.
and I think if people pull in and go this way, they're not going to want to. I mean, they're going to come in and go out.
If you're going behind the building, you're doing something you shouldn't be doing.
Is it going to be open 24 hours a day?
Would it be 24 hours a day, or what are the hours, or just?
We have not decided yet. It depends upon the flow of traffic. So, it all depends. It's a highway location, so maybe, maybe not.
And the adjoining property owners were asking or talking about the lighting. Yeah, can you explain
Most
maybe
of the
a little bit
lighting, most of the lighting will be up front. In the back, it would be just similar to what they have right now, just for the parking lot. Most of the lighting will be on the front. The canopy lighting is the major issues, I know, for the neighbors, but it will be on the front.
Position would be to ask them to build a vinyl fence, something that's going to be
Our thing went off.
And to answer Dr. Hunter, your question regarding the hours, their other location here in Greensburg is not a 24-hour location.
Yeah. We can add a condition based on a fence or something, is that correct?
You can.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Any other adjoining property owners?
I just want,
Will you state your name, please?
my name is Carrie Dean, and I'm a property owner of adjoining property. To address that, one of my concerns is back behind our house, our property butts right up to that property. There will be small children out there playing, our grandkids. And the last thing that we want is for somebody to come flying through there to get into the gas station or exiting this gas station and hit one of our grandchildren. Because now there's no traffic through there at all. The only traffic that goes back there is if me and my husband's going back to the pole barn, or if somebody's going in over at the old Wappy building.
Very valid.
Thank you. If there's something we feel that could be further brought to the table. My proposition to the board, or recommendation, would be to ask a petitioner to construct a vinyl fence high enough to block any direct light from this business to provide the privacy, the trash screening, and the light screening would be my recommendation.
All the way across the south end?
Yeah.
Is that a motion?
Well, look for anyone to add or comment on that, I guess, but.
And if I may, I think putting that fence in would also alleviate the concerns of a rampant vehicle careening past the three buildings that are in front of it and getting into their yard by their pole barn. that should at least slow it down, and would, I think, address the majority of the concerns raised by that particular property owner. It does seem that they would be willing to do it. And I would just remind the commission that this is currently a vacant commercial building that is not being used. It is not generating any sort of income. It is not helping the community. And this is an opportunity to alleviate a vacant building in a town that can use additional commerce.
Make a motion that we add the condition, should it be approved, that a vinyl fence be constructed across the south border of the parcel that would block all direct light and be a visual screen.
I'll second that.
Have a first and a second for APC 2025-18 with the addition of a vinyl fence along the south end of the property to block the direct light onto adjoining property owners. With that being said, we will take a vote.
The votes on petition 2025-18 based off of the motion are Tom Cherry, yes. Scott Smith, yes. Paul Stone, yes. Tom Hunter, yes. Todd Maurer, yes. Sheila Kirkhoff, yes.
Congratulations, does pass. Stay in contact with the office through the building process. That is the end of our agenda, so unless anybody else has anything, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Bill Finley. There's been a lot of reclassifications from A1 to A2 zonings tonight. I was wondering if the board could explain to me what kind of rights that the APC is actually offering to someone that builds a home in an A2 classification. I mean, you're not actually giving someone permission to build a house. You're government. You're actually offering protections. Would it be offering protections against incompatible land uses or something like that? Just to clarify what exactly this rezone is all about.
Missy?
Maybe you can clarify a little. I don't know what protections you're.
Well, you're not actually, if you go from an A1 to A2, you're not actually giving someone permission. The area plan was designed, its fundamental purpose is to eliminate incompatible land uses. That's what it does. That's what it was designed to do. So if you let somebody go from an A1 to an A2, correct, and somebody does build a house, then what protections come with that?
As far as protections from who?
From incompatible land uses. From someone, these people own a home and you're building a gas station right next to them. Not to mention the huge safety factor on the highway as far as tankers coming in. But I think that these people's rights have actually been overlooked. the rights to incompatible land uses. Not to mention the safety factor. That's a huge safety fault that I hope that the Decatur County won't be responsible for later.
Does the owner of that parcel that would like to put a gas station on it have rights to use it as well?
They purchased the land as of what it is. That's their right. What is it zoned now? Before the rezone. That's what they purchased. Those are the protections that they have. You actually just extended their protections by doing a rezone.
It's technically an R2 now, ain't it?
Yes.
Right, I'm saying they had protections before. You just went to a, business class or a B1 or something.
So
I'm just
you're-
afraid that people's rights are actually being overlooked by the conception of economic development or whatever growth.
So it's your opinion that parcels should never be anything other than residential?
No, not at all.
So
What is
in
it?
relation to that parcel in the town of New Point, I'd have to go back and look. I don't know when it first became a business, but it probably was even pre-zoning ordinance. So sometimes what happens is when a parcel looks to do something different than it had, so it was grandfathered in if it had a business on it prior to zoning, it was given a zoning class. Now it's just kind of bringing the zoning in line with the business that was already on there. From everything I've heard tonight, that wasn't a home and probably hasn't been for several years. So in essence, what happened is you look at the zoning around it, you look that it's on a major state highway, you look at what its use has been for a multitude of years, and we've basically aligned it now with the ordinance so that then whatever is being done in there would fall under what the classifications for that B class are. And there's many
So
properties.
if there is an infringement on an adjoining property owner, who's responsible for that infringement? If you destroy these people's lives because there's a gas station in front of their house now, who's responsible for that? Who's responsible? Who is going to reimburse them for their loss, for their taking, for their infringements?
I mean, technically, if it stays a car wash, it needs to be a B2 anyway. It should have been fixed anyway if it stays a car wash.
Right.
It would have been a non-conforming use anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the fact of what it is, what it was owned at when they bought it, when they purchased the ground.
So you feel like if they bought it as an R, it should never change anything from that? I mean, it was currently already a business. It was a
Right,
car
it was
wash.
it was a business. I'd say with a gas station, you've got a lot more traffic, a lot more lights shining in people's houses. You have a huge safety thing, so it doesn't even look like that lot's wide enough to get the semi in there to unload fuel and then get customers coming in and out of it. It just looks like a huge safety factor to me, especially being right on the interstate. Is there a decel? Is there a decel on the highway in front of the building where people can decel before they turn in on both sides? North and south of 46 or not?
I don't think there is on
There's no
any of the gas
decels at all.
stations.
It just looks like a huge safety thing. We're talking about fences and.
They have put
That
the
just
four-way
looks-
stop in though, so there is, now you are coming to a four-way stop in New Point rather than just cruising through, so.
Yeah,
In essence, it has reduced the speed because people should not be back up to speed yet at that location.
New Point used to always be 55 all the way through New Point, and now it's been decreased to 45 up, and then on each side of the
Oh,
town.
yeah, I'm sure you guys know best. You know better than me, I'm sure.
And then it's a four-way stop.
So I guess my biggest problem is, or my biggest concern is who is responsible now for these people's loss, the adjoining landowners? Would they sue the landowner now? If they lose half the value of their home, would they sue the landowner? Would they sue Decatur County because you guys let them do it? Is it a joint venture? Legally wise, who's responsible for their taking?
I
I
would
mean,
have
as
them
far as
come-
I'm concerned, there's a Fifth Amendment infringement here on taking.
They should just
without-
consult an
do-
attorney and they can file whatever they want to file.
But that's the next step for anyone.
Right, this
If
board is
there's a
not going to give
rezone,
legal
then-
advice.
Right. So there's no protections at all. They have no protections.
They can consult an attorney and make those determinations. Motion to adjourn? Do we have a motion to adjourn in a second?
Yes.
Yep, I made a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Okay, we'll call to the opening of the meeting for the June 4th, 2025 BZA meeting. There are Title VI forms in the back of the room if anyone wants to complete the anonymous survey. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the February 5th, 2025. You should all receive those. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the February minutes.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the February 5th, 2025 meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Minutes pass. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the April 2nd, 2025 meeting. Any additions or corrections to those? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the April 2nd, 2025 minutes.
I make a motion, we, correct?
Yes. Do I have a second?
I second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the April 2nd, 2025 meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Okay, first item on the agenda tonight is the BZA position 2024-8. Green X Solar, Colby Solar is requesting a special exception for the construction of a commercial solar energy facility. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance, Article 20. Let me begin this evening and say, due to a clerical error on a publication of tonight's meeting, we will not be holding a vote. However, we will proceed with this meeting as planned, and the petitioner has agreed to continue with this meeting as planned, and we'll have a full meeting tonight. Quick reminder on the meeting from November the 6th. We concluded that meeting with the public comment section. The petitioners formally request an opportunity for rebuttal. So we will begin tonight's meeting and pick up where we left off. So if the petitioner please come to the podium and begin your rebuttal.
Thank you. Good evening. Wayne DeLong with GNX Solar, Cabia Solar here this evening. Offices at 525 South Meridian Street, Indianapolis, Indiana. As summarized, this matter in front of you this evening is a continuance, if you will, from the rebuttal point. We also would want to recognize that we're aware of some splits and some land divisions in both Clay and Adams Townships. And so there could be folks in the room here for the first time ever interested in this petition. And so we do want to recognize that and not foreclose that particular topic. But certainly, in recognizing the notice issue, not uncommon, and we certainly acknowledge that, like we're here to move forward, offer the presentation, certainly table it at the end and find a date that is suitable for the next meeting. So to remind the room, and certainly for the board, on the site plan of the project area, 7,049 acres is the project in 2 townships, Adams and Clay, as mentioned, 5,363 acres behind the fence. Certainly some other details for you on the right include 74 miles of agricultural style fence. We'll have a detail for you, which was a question from the previous meeting. Again, summarizing the 22,000 trees, give or take, and it could be more based upon the recommendations coming from your technical advisory committee, and we'll touch on that as well. Touching back to the November comment, 20 plus voices spoke to you, interested parties as to the petition. This is certainly not a representation of each one of the comments that were made that are featured on video. I'm sure you've looked at and read in your minutes, but certainly summarizing for you the comment that we heard, and certainly in the lighter color, the response that the project provides related to concerns about loss of farmland, decreasing chemicals, seeds and sales, ag jobs, fire safety. We have a gentleman here tonight that can speak to that topic in great detail. Our design professional for traffic is here in the room. Again, same for screening and buffering, glint glare studies. And then the comments specific to the prior experiences in the county related to renewable energy projects. We would offer that project was a smaller scale, using older technologies, so past performances cannot be indicative of future outcomes. This project here is using newer technology to be a very different type of project. But again, a summation for the record of how this project would look to address some of the concerns, and certainly there could be more information provided this evening. Certainly want to provide for you, just for reference, in the room this evening is Mr. Aaron Caudle, Director of Regenerative Ag with GeneX Solar, Ms. Jenny Hartley, Senior Director of Community Engagement, Mr. Donnie DeCastro, who you'll hear from this evening as well, Vice President of Development Michael Reinbold, Matt Newman, and Rachel Connor. Rachel and Matt are both lawyers with Denton's. Mr. Chris Ramey, Project Ambassador. Mr. Michael Lady can speak to property valuations as an appraiser with Integra Realty Resources. Mr. Andrew Gallone, I hope I got his last name pronounced correctly, professional engineer on the project. Mr. Ben Harvey as well on the project with Stantec, and Mr. Wood, who I've mentioned previously. And he is our fire safety response individual. And finally, wrapping that up is our sheep grazing consultant. Again, these are all individuals that are here to speak to concerns that came up in your prior meeting. And the sheep grazing consultant is one of many agricultural agrivoltaic opportunities that the project possesses. Timeline since we've last spoke on the screen. Various touch points we've had with the county working through and answering questions, hence wanting to summarize that all for you. And then one of the items that went in, as you know, and you have in front of you, are some agricultural agreements that are mentioned in the TAC comments as part of the rebuttal, so certainly providing those for you for the record. Don't expect, of course, you to, I've reviewed and digested those in the last 4 minutes. And then finally touching on the distributed item today, which was the EDA, the Economic Development Agreement. That is what the project is proposing to the county for consideration. We'll touch on those pieces of this conversation here in a few minutes. So that, again, that public hearing, as we talked about, touched upon a few different topics, and here's how the project looks to answer some of those, again, more questions that were brought up. Certainly, if you're interested to talk about power flow, we can get into those details as well. But generally speaking, this project will generate power in this location, and that flow will head towards northern Indiana. For your TAC comments that were in your report, which I'm assuming is a part of your record, in the darker color is the topic that was mentioned, and in the lighter color is the response that the Technical Advisory Committee offered, such on property values, speaking to how a solar array is smaller in nature and scale for considering related to the other influences. We're speaking to soil health, subsurface and subsurface water and surface water monitoring. Again, these are comments that were mentioned in the public comment, and Covia Solar, per the agreements that you have in front of you, we'll speak to in a few minutes, will follow and provide the recommended water testing, monitoring of both surface and subsurface water, as well as soil testing. These are all things that the project will commit to accomplish. Certainly, the comprehensive plans language specific to which was greatly discussed last time in terms of consuming. We've always have taken the position that a solar array is an interim land use, a temporary land use, not a permanent land use. And that speaks and goes in line with ensuring that the agricultural land is not converted permanently. Utility scale solar is an interim land use, 25, 30, 40 years is what the leases spell out. Also in the TAC comments that were provided as part of the file from your staff, speaking to the Farm Bureau policies, American Farmland Trust, stormwater management, all things that the project will commit to adhere to and go above those standards. Certainly screening and buffering, we can speak to those in great detail as to how that will be provided for. Again, the 22,000 trees and many, many shrubs will be all a part of this project. The staff articulated very specific proposed conditions and requirements. These items are on the screen for the public's view and certainly your awareness, and they are part of your file. Certainly, the project team, Covia Solar, is in agreement with these proposed conditions. Certainly, the most restrictive of the three items on that screen: Model Solar Ordinance, Indiana Solar Energy Ready Community, and Decatur County Ordinance 20. Of the three, which the most restrictive, the project can work well within. Certainly the recommended guidance coming from these other policies are something that the project is happily able to adhere to. The last item on the screen is the comprehensive agreements. Again, this all ties back to the rebuttal topics that we're touching upon, the comments that were made for you. These agreements are spelled out in the TAC review recommendations, and these agreements basically function as zoning commitments, which is something provided for you by Indiana law. Certainly the agreements that we will put forth and have in front of you for your review, except for the EDA. The EDA is an agreement that was sent to County Council President, County Commissioner President, your Economic Development Agent, Brian Robbins, and certainly Special Counsel for the county, and then your county legal counsel all received a copy of that agreement. But certainly decommissioning, which is required by your ordinance, road usage, roadway usage is required by your ordinance, fire safety is an agreement that we're proposing, which is above and beyond what's required, and certainly the Master Agricultural Preservation Agreement. And from here, I'd like to introduce Mr. Donnie DeCastro to speak to these agreements in more detail.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Donnie DeCastro. So as Wayne touched on, there were 5 agreements that were rendered to you today. The Economic Development Agreement, which is very common for utility scale solar projects, that was delivered to members of your county today. You also received a decommissioning and road use plan as designated by your ordinance. I just want to stress the fact that the Fire Safety and Emergency Management Plan and the Master Agricultural Preservation Agreement are bonus agreements that we have designed. And where did we get the idea for these agreements? From these people. We heard what the community has said, what their concerns are, and we've attempted to address those concerns and then putting into a zoning commitment so everyone can feel confident in how we are going to handle these issues. So if I could, I'd like to go through some of these agreements at a high level. We have the road use agreement. So basically what this means is that we're going to come and we're going to agree before we start construction, these are the roads that we will use during construction. We will then do a complete road survey of all of those roads that will have heavy machinery traveling on them. And then post-construction, we will complete another survey of those exact same roads, compare the pictures from before to the pictures after, and any damage to those roads, we will repair on our dime. Going down to the decommissioning agreement. So this is how we remove the project from your project community. You will have to agree to a decommissioning plan that we provide to you beforehand. It was something that we will negotiate with you to make sure that you have all the measures contained in the decommissioning plan that you would like. Once you have approved that, we will have the amount that will be needed to remove the entirety of the solar project. We will have that analyzed by a third-party engineer that we will finance. They will tell you to remove this entire project, it will cost you this amount of money. We will put a surety bond in place before a single screw, a single piling is driven. All of the money will be in place that the county can have access to if we default on our end of the agreement. All of this happens before any construction starts. So this idea that what if the company goes bankrupt or however many ideas that have come about of what will happen with the money will be in place before any of this happens, before any construction happens. Just want to make that abundantly clear. And then the Fire Safety and Emergency Response Agreement. This is something that we have crafted in this agreement that we look to execute with the county. We'll agree to provide initial and ongoing training for emergency responders that are in the area, tailored to the project. So they will know exactly how to deal with the technology that they would be responsible for dealing with in an emergency. We will provide any specialty equipment at our dime that they would need to handle an emergency response. Then we will craft an emergency response with the feedback from the emergency responders in the area, so everyone is completely clear as to exactly how we would handle any emergency. And then we will continue to fund future trainings and future equipment that will be needed to make sure that this county has the things necessary to handle an emergency on our project. And then we will also establish a communication system with the county, emergency first responders, and the people of the project to make sure that there is clear and concise communication and exactly what to do in case of an emergency. Lastly, and I think most importantly for many people in this room, is the Master Agricultural Preservation Agreement. This is a comprehensive agreement focused on the preservation of the farmland of this county. So it contains 8 sub-agreements that we will go into in just a little bit, but this is our guarantee to the county that we are invested in both the short-term and long-term viability of this farmland. So within the Master Agricultural Preservation Agreement, we have 8 sub-agreements. The construction standard agreement, drainage management and erosion control agreement, soil conservation and soil quality preservation agreement, agrivoltaics dual use agreement, vegetative management agreement, visual impact and screening, crop damage restoration and reimbursement, and environmental monitoring. So some of the high-level topics that are covered in this agreement, and we realize that you are just getting this agreement right now, so it's going to take you some time to go through that. But some of the high points that you will expect to see addressed in this Master Agricultural Preservation Agreement are construction standards, grading plans, underground cabling, soil and water conservation, stormwater management, topsoil preservation, agricultural land preservation, habitat restoration and preservation, sheep grazing and agrivoltaics, weed and vegetation control, use of native and natural grasses, visual impacts, consulting with neighboring landowners on visual screening, reimbursement for crop damage, flood damage, drain tile, environmental sampling of soil and water before construction, during the life of the project, and after construction, making sure that we are maintaining the soil and water health of this community. And we will agree, obviously, to remedy any environmental impacts caused by the project. We are putting this in writing. There is no question mark. If there is any environmental damage to this community, we will remedy it. So why do we do these extra agreements? Well, again, we've heard from a lot of people of this county, these are the things that they're concerned about. We want to work to allay those fears because we are invested in this farmland as much as you guys. So one of the primary concerns we hear is the loss of farmland. Well, is this a loss of food production? Food production is increasing in this country. Purdue University tells us that on average since the 50s, corn goes up 2 bushels an acre year over year due to increases in technology. We don't have a food production problem in this country. We have a food distribution problem in this country. EPA says that the #1 item found in municipal solid waste is food waste. It is the #1 item in our landfills. The FDA states it's the most common thing that we throw away. So it's not a question of losing food production. It's a question of preserving the land. And we feel very strongly that the agreements that we've put forth before you preserve the land. We are not consuming farmland. We are preserving farmland. We are putting agreements in place to make sure that the integrity and the health of this farmland is maintained throughout the life of our project. We are using farmland to create energy and agriculture. We will have dual use on our project, whether it be bees, between row crops. We have our our sheep grazing experts who are prepared to talk about a very comprehensive sheep grazing plan that we have for this project. But at the end of the day, these agreements help to ensure the future viability of this farmland for generations. while providing economic benefits that will improve the lives of this county now and in the future. You can have both. We're confident these agreements guarantee that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Donnie. Of course, we would be remiss to not come back to the findings of fact as found in your zoning ordinance. I mean, this is the basic structure of the process that's in front of all of us this evening. Is, does this project or does it not conform to the findings of the zoning ordinance? And certainly we would offer in great detail, and we have in our previous testimony, and certainly again this evening, can speak to how this project conforms to the standards of the findings of fact. And just tying it back, the things that are mentioned in your findings, property values, how are those maintained, how are those complemented, how are those managed related to a solar array, utility scale solar. Certainly, again, we have experts in the room this evening that can speak to those, but certainly the details on the screen here provide that information, but with a properly cited, buffered, and screened project, we see minimal issues, if no issues, and there's many other market factors that influence property values more than just singular solar array. This is a slide you saw before, but certainly repeating it again here is just one example, best one we could pull together from Google Earth, comparing it to our own computer-generated imagery of a home, of what its current lay of the land is, so to speak, and certainly what that screening looks like post-construction. Our fence detail, this was a question previously, what does that look like? Certainly this is our agricultural style fence, woven wire. Certainly it's designed to allow different animals to move right through as the landscaping that we put in, the buffering we put in is restorative agricultural, is creating habitat, which is something your ordinance, zoning ordinance encourages. Soil testing, this is a real life example of what soil testing looks like. This comes from Noble County, Indiana. This was conducted by the Purdue Extension Office. Post-construction, pre-construction, values fall well below levels of concern. Again, just a real life example of soil analysis related to a solar array. We can now transition to our experts in the room that can speak to our solar grazing plan. Again, our director of agrivoltaics is here as well. If there's any other details we can speak to beyond that, but we do feel that speaking to sheep grazing, because that is such a unique effort, we do have our sheep grazing consultants here to speak to that for a few minutes to provide you information and address some topics for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dana Cummings. I'm happy to be here along with my family, 3 kiddos, and my husband, Paul. I own Synovus Ranch. We are a sheep grazing ranch. We're located just outside of Franklin, Indiana, so just about 50 minutes away from here or so. And we have about 5 years of experience grazing very specifically a certain breed of sheep called Katahdin. They're hair sheep. And they're very good at grazing under solar panels. We raise them, we breed them very specifically for that purpose. We've gotten pretty good at it on our farm. And we've been working with GeneX to provide a sheep grazing plan for the Cobia Solar project. We delivered that plan a couple of weeks ago, and as both Donnie and Wayne mentioned, these are pretty comprehensive plans. They're quite lengthy. They include a lot of different topics in terms of what type of sheep are best, how to care for them, how to rotationally graze them on the operation, anything from decommissioning, fire safety, all the important details that need to be included are included in our sheep grazing plans. We believe that for the Cobia Solar project, solar grazing are really great options. They are certainly innovative and sustainable. We like very much that there's a win-win solution. There's kind of a twofer, if you will, because while we're both producing renewable energy, we're also raising livestock. And what we most like about it, because we have become very passionate about solar grazing, is offering opportunities for young families to get involved in solar grazing. So In the case of the Cobia Solar Project, we have divided up a very large project into smaller ones, into smaller units. And my husband, Paul, will talk a little bit more about that in detail in just a moment. But what's great about that is that it gives multiple opportunities for different families to get involved in solar grazing. So we're passionate about it. We like to see other people getting involved in it. It's been a great opportunity for us, for our family, and we like to educate others and get more folks involved.
Awesome. Thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to come speak about this tonight. It's an exciting topic for us to talk about. So one thing that we hear a lot is that solar is taking away farm ground. And, you know, that's the last thing we want to do. The soil is the most important resource that we have as a nation. It's what our foundation is built on. And as farmers ourselves, we're really passionate about improving soil quality. So, but the first thing we want to think about is how is agriculture? What is the point of agriculture? It's converting the sun's rays into energy. And historically, when you look at it, a lot of that energy was used back in the 40s. A third of the ground was used for hay, just to power horses, which was the traction at the time. Looking now, we have 12 million acres of farm ground in Indiana. Roughly half is corn, half is beans on any given year. And roughly half of the corn is turned into ethanol. So while it looks like the same thing out there, the corn that you feed to pigs and chickens looks the same as the corn that you take to the ethanol plant, and there's only slight differences probably, and they can take any corn there. It's really not different. It's used to move cars around. So when you look at the numbers, 1 acre of corn can drive one E85 vehicle for a year, whereas 1 acre of solar in Indiana can power 64 electric vehicles. Granted, they're a little more efficient, so we get a little bit of a trick there with the cars using less energy, but it's a 64-to-1 trade. So that's a really important thing to think about. So you're already getting solar as a very efficient conversion on a small amount of the land, less than 3%, or around 3% of Decatur County in this case. They're very efficient at that, but it also gives us the opportunity, like Dana mentioned, for our family, we're going to be grazing solar farms in the future. That's our plan. And it also gives other families the opportunity here. So when you look at the plan, this is part of the detail. It's an 80-some page plan. About 60 pages are detailed maps looking at fencing. We have to have excellent exterior fences. We also need to have excellent interior fences, gates, water to every paddock. Those are the kind of things, because you hear about some solar farms where the sheep don't do well. You got to lock it in and have a very good production system to make that happen. And it's wonderful working with GeneX because they're open-minded and brought us in early. A lot of times you see these solar farms get all the way built and then they think about sheep at the last second. You're trucking loose wires in, it doesn't work well. So creating an excellent plan has been really great to work with them to get this plan together to set this up for success. With these 7 individual blocks, that gives us the thinking is that we would have 7 different families if it's built out to the full extent. 7 different families, or maybe it's 6 different families, whatever it ends up being, has a chance to come up. And part of what we'd like to do is help teach people about this and skip the 5 years of screw-ups that we've had and go straight to year 6. You know, be good at it right away or better than we are. So that's the thinking here. So I'll move on there if there's questions, or if Wayne, if you want to move on.
Thank you both. Thank you. And for purposes of time management, we'll move right along. Certainly take other questions at the end, but certainly, again, larger picture here, the use of farmland, just breaking it down just for reference. This would be the time we would look to speak to other agrivoltaic opportunities. For the purposes of time management, we'll just reference that. There are other opportunities besides sheep grazing, which we would certainly look to see as a part of the Cobia Solar Project. Mr. DeCastro mentioned the decommissioning plan, but again, just giving you more details, more information as to what that bonding looks like, what the costs look like for reference. Certainly that's, again, just for the room's information, and your ordinance requires a 150% bond in terms of the surety. We can take a minute or two here, or three, to answer any questions on fire safety, but we do have our subject matter expert on fire safety here in the room. If Mr. Wood wants to come up and give a few minutes on that topic, and then we'll look to wrap things up after we talk about the Economic Development Agreement very quickly after this.
Thanks, Wayne. I appreciate that. Good afternoon. Good evening. My name is Eric Wood. I am a senior consultant with Energy Safety Response Group. I had 20 years in the fire service in the state of Ohio as a professional firefighter before I transitioned out into the private sector. I've been with ESRG now for a little over 2 years. A large portion of what my company does is we go out and we assist in permitting consulting, but the bulk of what I do is training fire departments across the country on a multitude of different renewable aspects in regards to batteries, and much the same here at the photovoltaic or the solar fields, the solar farms. Our company, we are comprised of engineers and either active or retired firefighters, and our job is to go out and specifically train firefighters on how to manage and mitigate any incident should they encounter one. I know that I am familiar with the site that they are proposing right now. I'm also familiar with the product in which they're looking to bring in, and with the knowledge of that product, the knowledge of the site, I can tell you that based off of what we train on is that this is not going to have a negative impact on the environment, nor is it going to it's not going to have a negative impact on any of the residents that reside around the specific site. If you have any questions for me later on, I'm more than happy to answer those should you have those.
Thank you, Eric. Again, taking a step back, we would be remiss not to address some points that were brought up previously in the testimony back in November, and certainly this is where we offer where our project matches up well with your comprehensive plan, where we're protecting ag resources, balancing preservation efforts. The consumption of land is not applicable per your own staff's comments. This project works to actually facilitate housing supply and diversity. We spoke to that previously. We can go in more detail if you wish. And certainly we tie this into, speaking of dollars and cents, and potential budget offsets. We can wrap things up here speaking about the economic impact of this project. We, of course, need to mention, as many of you are aware, Senate Bill 1, Senate Enrollment Act 1, back in April, May, changed dramatically how property taxes are assessed, how real and personal property taxes are assessed. One of the things that changed is how depreciation occurs on personal property. What this project will pledge to do is match the old law. The old law required it had a floor of 30% depreciation. Currently, that floor could be under the new law, could be as low as 5% as we understand it. These are legal topics. These are accountant topics. I am neither. However, we are here tonight to speak to this differentiation in the marketplace for Cobia Solar because of our confidence in the project and our pledge to the community about being a good corporate citizen. When I mentioned the Economic Development Agreement that we submitted, what we truly submitted today was basically what you would call a terms sheet. This is something that we would negotiate. I wouldn't want to represent that we turned in an agreement and that hasn't received any negotiation. This is simply the first offer. But what you see on the screen is about $16.5 million worth of EDA payments, upon execution of an agreement, and how that would be framed out with the project's submittal and pursuit. And that would require conversations with your county council, county commissioners, and we certainly are open to facilitating and being a part of that conversation. A slide that you've seen before, we don't need to dive into it again necessarily, but for the room, certainly speaking to the benefits of the land payments and the spending that we see through the life of the project. This is all beyond the property taxes. This is the spending that our own modeling shows. And uniquely, our modeling does not ever reference agrivoltaics. So whatever additional revenues, profits happen because of agrivoltaics at any level, those numbers are beyond what's on the screen in a positive fashion. Again, touching on the findings of fact, we've mentioned these before, not to delay wrapping things up, managing time here, but certainly, again, demonstrating for the room how we believe our project conforms to the comprehensive plan. You have seven findings that we need to find positively for. We've provided these for you for your file. And we want to give, we're about 30 minutes in, we want to give some time. We understand that landowners have legal representation, may have a few things to say, so we want to pause and provide that moment.
Hi, my name is Brianna Schrader. I'm an attorney based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm at Jansen Schrader Agricultural Law. Very creative name. My law partner's name is Jansen. My name is Schrader, and we do ag law. So I travel the state representing farmers, representing agricultural companies, and a lot of times it's in zoning matters, confined feeding, solar, digesters, ag buildings, that kind of thing. So I'm here tonight to represent the landowners that are a part of this project. So these are the landowners that have voluntarily signed on to have their land be the home for this project. So I just want to take a couple of minutes. I'm going to try not to be repetitive. I know you guys have heard a lot from different folks, but I do think it's really important here to hear from the Decatur County landowners who are the home for this project. And I grew up on a farm. I've got a deep respect for Indiana agriculture. That's my background. So I'm just going to make, I think, 3 quick points here as to why this solar farm's not just a good opportunity here, but it's really a responsible and a forward-looking choice for Decatur County agriculture. The first one, and this is really a bedrock of my practice, and that is private property rights. Farmers take great pride, as you probably know, in managing and stewarding their land, often across multiple generations. The Cobia project is going to allow these farm families to continue to do that by exercising their right to choose how to use their farmland. So for some people, of course, for some farmers, that choice means crops. It may mean cattle or hogs. For others, it might mean solar panels. Of course, we never think of telling a farmer what she has to plant in that field or what he needs to put in the back 40 acres. We would never say, no, I know you thought about putting corn out there. It's going to have to be soybeans this year because we know better. We'd never think about doing that when it comes to planting crops at a farm, at a field. The same argument, I believe, holds for solar. As mentioned earlier by Wayne and Donnie, land might be used to grow corn or crops to provide fuel for ethanol. Land can also be used for solar energy. It's really just a shift from one type of energy to another. I think the best way here to protect these private property rights of these farmers and of the landowners and of the neighbors really is by applying the law that your county has passed, your commissioners and your APC have passed. That gives us a very straightforward, predictable way to allow projects like this. So I've done this work in a number of different counties, and I'm not naming names, but some counties don't have a great ordinance put together, right? Maybe they didn't get around to doing it in time, maybe they don't have the funds to do it. But what I have seen is that reasonable, thoughtful ordinances on solar, like the one that Decatur County has, that ensures that landowners can exercise their private property rights while protecting neighbors with the things set forth there in the ordinance: setbacks, vegetation plans, decommissioning plans. This project meets the solar ordinance here in Decatur County. The landowners, therefore, I think should be allowed to use their land as they see fit. Really, at the end of the day, we're just asking the county to apply the ordinance to this project, right? I want everyone to remember, solar leasing here is voluntary. This is not eminent domain where a private company came in and said, your land and your land and your land are now mine, and I'm going to use them to create energy. To be clear, here in Indiana, we have other energy projects that can do that. This is different. This is a voluntary commitment that these farmers have chosen to make with GeneX for the Cobia project. Frankly, these are savvy landowners who have analyzed the pros and the cons, and they've concluded this project is a good idea. It's a good investment on their farmland. to suggest that they've been tricked or brainwashed or they don't understand what they're getting into. It's insulting, and it frankly ignores how smart your neighbors are. To the contrary, I think they will say that GeneX has been great to work with, and they're happy now with their decision, even after the last months, years of discussion here in the county. So to protect those landowners' private property rights, follow the law, follow the ordinance that's been enacted by your county commissioners, by your APC. Point number 2, and I don't want to beat a dead horse or a dead grazing sheep or anything like that, but this project truly does protect the landowner's farm ground. We oftentimes talk about Decatur County farm ground, and it is farm ground that is in Decatur County, but it is owned by the landowners. It is their family farmland. And this is really important because one thing I think we've heard in opposition across the months and back in November is that the project will consume this farmland, right? That word consume. I think it's kind of a funny word to use because when we think about consuming, right, I think about I'd like to consume a drink when this hearing is over, right? I'd like to consume a sandwich later. But here we're talking about consuming land. The good thing is we don't have to guess as to what that means or what that was intended to imply. Instead, we can look, as the tech report points out, explains that the county ordinance defines that word. Consume means to do away with completely or to destroy. So I think let's sub in those words when we think about the fact that the county doesn't support the development of commercial alternative energy supplies that would destroy or to take away completely, to do away with completely agricultural land. When you think about it that way, I think it's easier for me anyways to wrap my head around the point of that ordinance. That doesn't apply here, right? As you've heard about the livestock grazing plan, alternative additional agrivoltaics plan to keep the ground in agriculture. That's a fitting use of land that is zoned ag. Per the ordinance, the purpose of the agricultural district is to preserve land for agricultural purposes and to protect agricultural land from premature and unplanned urbanization. The agricultural district is designed to give preference to agricultural uses that need surface and subsurface drainage, soil care, conservation practice, distribution of animal waste, the grazing of animals, etc. So the Cobia project, as you've heard, will involve drainage. It will involve soil care, soil conservation. To put it delicately, it will include the natural distribution of animal waste. It will include grazing animals. That is agriculture. If you look at the county definition in the ordinance, agricultural use means a tract of land for the production of ag or horticultural crops, including but not limited to livestock, livestock products, poultry, poultry products, gray, hay, pastures. So there really can be no dispute that the land will continue to be used for agriculture as that term is defined by Decatur County. The land is going to be rested during the lifetime of the project. It's going to get a break from, I think, traditional row crop farming. Over time, that will help to improve the soil, to increase organic nutrients in the soil. Unlike a subdivision or those big warehouses we see out by the highway, solar doesn't seal the land under a layer of concrete forever. These leases are long-term, but they're temporary, right? They're not permanent. So the project allows the landowners here to diversify their farming income, harness the power of the sun for just a set period of time. So I think of it like a privately funded CRP program, conservation program, right? Protects the land against residential development, premature urbanization, as the ordinance sets forth, protects the land against urban sprawl, commercial warehouses, those sort of things, which are the real cause of the loss of farmland in the county and in the state of Indiana, permanent loss of farmland. So you've heard a little bit about the decommissioning plans that would be between the county and Cobia, but I want you to understand there's also an agreement with the landowners. In their contracts, there is a requirement, because again, it is their land that they and their families own. There is a requirement in those contracts that at the end of the project, Cobia has to decommission the project, return the land to the landowners in the same or better condition that it is today, right now, June 4th. So that allows the landowners, or if we're being honest, probably the landowners' heirs or future landowners, to take that land back and on day one decide, okay, do I want to plant corn? Is there some new crop out there? Are we planting rice? Am I going to put some new pet pig farm out there? What is it that I'm going to use this land for? They're ready to hit the ground running. And that's really important to the landowners to protect their ability to farm the land here in Decatur County. So it's really, we're not consuming land, we're not changing the soil types, we're not scraping topsoil away, we're not changing the elevation, we're not destroying or doing away with completely that farmland. So this project will allow the landowners to protect that agricultural ground. My third and final point really is the economic stability that this project can provide for Decatur County farming families. As you guys know, farming comes with a lot of financial uncertainty. Weather, markets, these days we've got to talk about tariffs, trade wars. All of these things take a toll. They take a toll on farmers and their families. So leasing a portion of their farm ground to Cobia provides kind of a predictable income for those farm families year after year. That steady flow of finances can make the difference, right, between keeping a farm in the family or having to sell it off. So this isn't about replacing farming, it's about reinforcing it, giving landowners kind of a buffer or a backup when the economics look bleak. So it's really a recommitment here to farming in Decatur County, not a checking out of farming. A final note really from my experience on traveling around the state doing this kind of weird job that I do across the state representing farmers, I can tell you that opposition to land use projects it's typical. We see it for all different projects, hog barns and dairies, and anaerobic digesters, carbon sequestration, solar, wind, whatever we're going to invent next. We see that pushback often. It has a nickname, right? And it's not a nice one necessarily, but we see it on the news too, right? NIMBY, not in my backyard. In other words, maybe I'm not against the concept, but just don't put it anywhere by me. The other piece of that is I think we as humans, we can be a little skittish about change, right? We should do things the way they've been done in the past. Why would we do things differently? But Senate Enrolled Act 1 is one example. But I think Decatur County here is a special place. I've done a lot of work here over the years. So while we see there is a sort of NIMBY playbook that exists, that I've heard it in other counties and other parts of the states for other types of projects, the arguments are often very, very similar. And what I'd ask this BZA and this county to do is to think about the ordinance that you passed, that your county passed, the APC and the county commissioners, compare that to the facts of this specific project, this unique project in this unique county, and make your decision based on those factors, not based on a generic, not in my backyard type playbook. So I do want to hand it over to Gordon Smiley, who's going to come up and speak as an actual landowner here for a moment. I know we're sort of technically in rebuttal time, but I do, to the extent there's additional public comment, I do want to reserve an opportunity to come back if, as landowners, we need to rebut anything that is said specifically about landowners during that public comment portion tonight or otherwise. With that, Gordon, I will get out of your way.
On behalf of the landowners of this Cobia project, we'd like to say thanks for the opportunity to speak towards the board tonight. And I'd like to share several key reasons this project should be approved for the benefit of all Decatur County citizens. First, this project will allow landowners to keep the family farms within the family. Just like other farms in the area, we can keep this land in the hands of local landowners through farming diversification. We all try to diversify. How many family farms are able to transfer to the third, fourth, or even the fifth generations? This solar project will allow this opportunity to increase the odds of this being able to be for future generations to keep our existing farms with our own families. Landowners benefit with the diversification and steady income stream while not giving up the ownership of the property. COBIA is able to develop a long-term domestic energy project, and the county gains a new large tax stream to improve roads, schools, and fairground facilities. Second, this solar project is a new, unique opportunity for our entire community to benefit. New agriculture production systems, as was mentioned earlier, will expand through the grazing opportunity. This project would generate an increase in tax receipts, which would enhance all of our citizens' livelihoods in Decatur County for years to come. The county will gain far more than it will invest. Our community needs to work together to create opportunities and improve county infrastructure to attract future generations. What other major project are you aware of that the county could secure that would generate the tax dollars on the same scale as this COBIA project? This is like a 401k for Decatur County. It generates income every year with minimal infrastructure. The project doesn't make noise, no odors, or create dust. Third, this project will protect the soil and natural resources in our county. As landowners standing here today, Jeff and I are representing the Smiley family. We have always respected and cared for the soil we were blessed to farm. We are not farming dirt, but rather we are cultivating living, breathing biology within our soils. Please know, if we felt like this solar opportunity would not protect our soils for our heirs, we would not have signed up and we would not be standing here today supporting the COBIA project. Fourth, I want you to know how much time and effort the landowners have spent analyzing this project and considering the GNEX proposals and negotiating details. I did not know of anything that anybody had spoke before me tonight, and they brought up topics, and several of these are duplications of what I'm saying this evening, but we worked through these with our contracts over the years and are deep working upon finding this. But our farm is a business, and these business decisions were not made quickly, but rather very methodically over time, considering all long-term effects. We know the county officials have invested taxpayer dollars, staff time, and board members' time in looking at this project in great detail, as it should be done with the amount of potential taxes that could be realized. I understand that each of you BZA members have spent your own time educating themselves and reading and attending seminars over the past, and I thank you especially for that time that you have spent. Fifth, this project does protect farmland. It does not require a large percentage of the county's farmland. This project is proposed on less than 3% of the farm ground in the county and will contribute nearly 10% of our current budget, a very large number. The tech review I would like to refer to, and specifically that part of the packet that I give you on the lower section there, says the following: looking at all the information, it doesn't appear that the intent of the comprehensive plan is to have commercial solar energy facilities forbidden within the county, but rather ensure agricultural land is not converted permanently to non-agricultural uses. Remember, the comprehensive plan is just a guideline. The solar ordinance is the rules that have to be followed. COBIA's goals are to meet all the ordinance requirements. In conclusion, I stand before you as a landowner asking to partner with COBIA to improve our own property. Landowners have a private property interest in using their own land in each way they see fit. On most projects, as long as a proposal does not impact a neighbor's property, landowners are able to develop their land in accordance with the zoning ordinances. I'm afraid this project has been subjected to new criteria. What a neighbor's subjective opinion is about their view of a solar farm on my property. Looking back at the past requests before the BZA, this board had prioritized property owner rights. This particular project has been subjected to far higher standards than most proposals that come before this board. We are simply asking for our property rights to be allowed as you have allowed others before us. If all the rules, guidelines, and specifications are met and that have been set forth in our solar ordinance, which was unanimously approved by the APC board. As landowners, we live directly next to the proposed project. So we are not asking anyone else to do something that we ourselves are not willing to do. If you have any questions now or further, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
We'll conclude by saying thank you. Thank you for the time this evening. The information that we provided to you is very, very beneficial for us to share. Certainly preserve any time if you're looking for additional rebuttal to any public comment, certainly look to preserve that as well, and certainly look to speak to you again at a future date that would either in July or August, whatever seems more suitable. Or we can take questions now, or you can go right to public comment, whatever your wish is.
Thank you, Wayne. Does the board have any questions for Cobia or for the petitioner?
I'm sure this has been asked and you've answered it. Construction from beginning to end, what would the total time be? I understand take into weather issues and things like that. What is estimated total installation time?
A project of this size is 24 to 36 months.
Okay.
So we would look, like most other construction projects, we would look to begin in the spring. We have delivery dates of 2029 and 2030 based upon the two interconnection positions. And so your timeline would slide 3 years backwards as to when that construction could start. So, 27, potentially we could see some early construction. I wouldn't say 26, I would say that first effort, it's a concentrated effort just west of the corporate boundary of Greensburg there. It's where our POI position is, and the project would then radiate out in terms of construction. But yeah, 24 to 36 months.
Thank you.
And to clarify, that's for both phases total, or is that for each phase?
That's both phases in total. The phases you wouldn't even sense that there's a phasing schedule. The project would just roll.
So they would happen simultaneously?
Yeah, one after another, yes.
Any other questions from the board before we open up for public comment?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So in light of quite a bit of new information there, I do feel like it's our obligation to open back up to public comments. We're not working off of a list this time, but we do still want to uphold the 3-minute per conversation. And again, we ask that in respect for everyone's time, that new information and new topics be brought to the board. So having said that, I will open up for public comment.
Good evening, Jason Kuchme. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Snyder Morgan Kuchme, 4211 Clubview Drive in Fort Wayne. And I represent, I sent the letter there, probably well over 200 folks here that have been asked to comment. And one of my clients did ask that, obviously, since we've heard a lot of new information tonight beyond the rebuttal and so forth, and was wondering whether it made sense to do the public comment at the next meeting since we're not voting tonight. So I wanted to throw that out as a request that the board consider.
I think there is enough new, sizable, and important information that most likely all of us as a board and as a community need to digest that information. And I do believe a public rebuttal or input at that time would make sense at the next meeting.
Okay. Appreciate that. Is that something that the board would like to vote on? I mean, again, given the hour and the number of subject matters that still need to be addressed in the public comment, is that something we can get a determination that it makes sense to do that at the next meeting?
Are you wanting, I'm sorry, Jason.
Yes.
Are you wanting to speak at all tonight, or you just want
Well,
to?
I mean, if we're going to do it to the next meeting, then I might as well just wait. I think we can all wait.
Yeah, I think we can commit to that. Missy, do we need to have a motion and approve that for the agenda for the next meeting, or?
We can, you can do a voice vote and just approve
Okay.
it. Is there a motion to have the public comment be held at the next meeting? Then we need to determine if that meeting is going to be a July meeting or an August meeting.
Okay.
I know the petitioner said that they would be agreeable to either one.
Any comments from the board on that?
Some of the concern, I think, been some discussion about Senate Bill 1 and should that pose any changes to this project from the county standpoint. From what I saw earlier from Covia's message that they're committing to the same thing. If there's something that needs a change on the background, I guess my initial concern before this meeting was whether we needed to get up to speed on what those changes would, how that would affect us. But if the EDA isn't essentially changing between us and the Covia folks, then I guess that's something in the background. But do we need to bring that up for discussion right now or not? Is that?
I think what's happening is right now they're working on a new agreement, and a lot of those communications do happen with the county council.
Okay.
So I think that will be evolving here within the next few weeks. But I don't think it's anything that's ready for review tonight, just due to the nature of how it's been changed.
That's where I was going with it. Do we know what that timeline looks like, which would ultimately feel like each time we think that there's the last piece of the puzzle coming in, do we feel like in 1 month from now that's going to be ready?
I guess that would really be an unknown, but a question to the petitioner maybe on into the county. But
Matt, are you?
Certainly, Matt can come up as well here, but I would say from our process point of view, as you're getting at, those matters don't move quickly. Certainly, is to see a 30 to 60-day timeline for those types of conversations. 60 days seems to be more reasonable. But Matt, what other details do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think the kind of the reaction to SCA1, SB1 is just a little slow moving. It's the kind of impacts to just general tax revenues at the county, and then how that impacts correspondingly a project like this are sort of far-reaching, and even, you know, kind of the super specialized consultants, my partner, that focuses on that area. You know, it's kind of everyone's still trying to wrap their arms around it. I think ultimately Covia is proposing to proceed in a way which delivers the same financial outcome to the county and to the project, which I think is a concept everyone can understand, but then like putting that into agreement form, contractual form is the challenge. And so the speed at which that could be done is kind of uncertain. So I think, I mean, Wayne, I think there was a lot of information presented here, and I think what the board is saying is the board and the community probably want time to digest that, and opening for public participation, that'll take some time. I think it's, as I sit here, it's hard to predict with precision like how long it's going to take to render an EDA that factors in all of the disruption from SCA1. I think 60 seems better than 30, if I'm honest here, but how we choose to structure it. I think the project's open-minded.
it sounds a little bit like with the amount and relative importance of the information provided tonight, that unless there's other public comments, is now an appropriate time to make a motion for continuance to the next meeting? Okay. So why don't we do this, and is this okay, Missy? If we go through public comment and then have a continuation during the public comment section and then open up the next meeting with that public comment followed by a rebuttal from the petitioner? Is that appropriate?
I think it would be appropriate just to move all public comment to the next meeting.
Okay.
Let Mr. Kushme start that at the next meeting and then open it up to the rest of the public, since he is representing a significant portion of the public that's here or being represented here. So I would say the board should make a determination that they're going to adjourn tonight at this point, that we will reschedule it if the 60 days, then for the August meeting. And I can look on my calendar, whatever the first Wednesday is in August, and that we will commence that meeting with public comments, starting with Mr. Kushman.
So it'll be August the 6th.
To add on to the public comment, I would like to personally thank anyone that has taken the time to write letters and submit them to the office. I can tell you with confidence that this board does receive and read those. So please don't feel like a missed opportunity at the microphone is anything to take away from your comments. Please feel free to submit those letters. Again, I've read them. I appreciate them. I think it gives everybody an opportunity to more clearly deliver your thoughts and for us to also absorb them. So just something to add into that.
Thank you, Paul. I think at this point I'll entertain a motion to continue this item to the August the 6th BZA meeting.
I move for a continuance to the August 6th meeting.
Do we do it no later than August 6th if they're ready in July? Or should we just push it to the 6th?
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Do we do no later than August 6th? If they're ready in July, do we put it on July? Can we say that?
I would say at this point, we just make it August 6th.
6th, okay.
Everybody's here, and we'll have notice then, in
Okay.
addition to a further publication.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of tabling this petition to the August 6th meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Petitions tabled to the August 6th meeting. That is the final item on our agenda tonight. Is there any other information or public comment? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn tonight's meeting. We are adjourned.